The Gospel according to Maponga J. Here on your station, brand new space. We're moving all our content and sermons for your spiritual development right here. You subscribe, you share with your friends. This is your new home for your spiritual growth.
Hello, my name is Jabulile Buthelezi Kalonji, and I am the founder and convener of Millennial Dialogue on Africa. On this platform, I urge young people across the continent and the globe to open their minds and have debates and discussions about Africa and Africa-related matters. Just this past week, we also engaged in a topic that was quite key about how being Black in America actually matters, and it was quite interesting. Now, in light of that, you look at what's going on now in the world and what has happened and taken place in South Africa just this past week with femicide on the rise. We had an uproar of women being in discomfort, women being hurt, women being scared and living in fear in South Africa because femicide is on the rise again. We have had a woman called Tsogofatsopule who pretty much was trending the whole week, a very, very uncomfortable thing to realize. Now we need to be reminded about these socioeconomic ills that are happening around us so that we are constantly reminded about the fact that we have a God who cares and that this world is actually not our home. Now we are going to have Bishop Joshua Maponga, who's going to speak to the concept of all lives matter. Of course, in reflection of what has been happening in America and across the globe, we've had protests happening in the UK, in the US, in all various states, and some here even in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's very important that you get to hear what he has to say about this concept. Perhaps to also learn a thing or two, but to constantly remind each other about why is it so important that we perhaps even follow, the work that Melv Broadcasting Network does, so that we are able to keep abreast with not only what is happening in the world, but how we can use it to empower each other as Christians, and also use it and support it so that we are encouraged all the time, so that we can be Christians who are adding significant value in our societies and in our communities. I hope you enjoy the segment by Bishop Joshua Maponga coming up next.
Greetings to all of you around the world. Our world right now is in turmoil. And Black people, African people, our Kebelam, Kush, the sons of the soil, finally they have come up to realize how evil and how terrible the system has been on them. We bask in the sunset of this 21st millennium, watching the dehumanization of the African children. We wake up one morning and we discover that another Black man has died at the knees of a police officer. The same people who should have been working to protect the people have now become the ones who are killing the people. George Floyd is not the first one to have died in this fashion. We look at the entire African continent, the wars that were fought with colonialism, the wars that were fought with medical wars, the wars that were fought in genetically modified foods, landmines that have been planted in our fields and in our countries, anthrax diseases that have been scattered on the ground, cyanide that has been put in the waters of the African people. And all these things, as we are watching them, truly it comes up to my sight now that industrialization has never had its interest in the lifestyle and the welfare of the community. It looks like our globalization values profit more than it values people. That is why trees are being cut. That's why waterways are being contaminated. That's why the atmosphere is being polluted. That's why industrialization is constantly in pursuit of materials. But while they're collecting all these materials and developing their economies, the lives of the people are constantly at stake. We speak this message not only to the African Christian community. We want to pass this message to the African political systems. We also want to pass this message to the United Nations and other multinational companies, where you walk up into Congo and the boys at the ages of 10, 11, and 12 are spending hours on end in the great mines, looking for that evasive metal that is needed for the reproduction of the cell phones. And yet the same companies that are buying and selling these minerals are talking about human rights and preservation of the children. I find this to be hypocrisy of the highest order. When you look at the death of George Floyd, it has come to us that the prophecies of the Bible, particularly in the book of Isaiah, chapter 18, 19, and 20, where it clearly outlines that my children will be taken as captive in the land far away, where they will be reduced to slaves, carried in ships across the oceans. Without wasting your time, tell me a nation that was taken as captive in boats. Tell me a nation whose children were sold as slaves and they were paraded on the markets with their buttocks exposed outside. If you find that nation, they are the chosen nation. But I love my black book. It does not end with bad news. It says, but there shall be a return, a great exodus. I know this might sound unfamiliar to some of you who are eagerly waiting for the second coming of Jesus. And it looks like you want Jesus to come back so quickly before some of these prophecies are actually fulfilled. Read it for yourselves. It says they went away in ships in lands that are far off, but I will bring them back. Now you can even enjoy the passage where it says, therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return and come with singing unto Zion. Everlasting joy shall fill up their hearts, and they shall be full of gladness and joy. This grand exodus cannot be covered up because we are waiting for the parousia and the second coming of Jesus. If the Bible is true, therefore we need first, before we preach about the second coming of Jesus, preach about the exodus of the Africans who have been taken up as captives in the lands afar off. My mind is reminded of Marcus Garvey. My mind is reminded of Martin Luther. My mind is reminded of Malcolm X and other progenitors who have been talking about the great exodus of the African people. It looks like colonialism does not want to confront the issue of the black liberation. They'll rather be talking about the eschatological parousia of the Messiah without addressing injustice in our own generation. What I have a problem with is crime and murder. What makes murder one of the worst crimes on the face of the earth? It is the first crime ever committed on the face of the earth. Cain killed Abel. The reasons are clear, and human beings have not changed. Envy, jealous, greed, thinking that you can reduce another human being so that you can uplift yourself. What makes murder so complicated and difficult to process? It's when another human being decides within themselves to become God. Take note. I want you to follow me very carefully. Murder is when another human being decides to become God. And in their decision of being God, they make a choice to exterminate your life, to reduce your life, to cut your choices, to exterminate you from your future. They take full responsibility that you don't have a right to live. Now, only God has that omnipotent decision to make. But another human being, because of resources, because of a gun, because of a knife, because I have a misunderstanding with you, because I disagree with a wife or with a girlfriend, or with a country that has resources that I cannot access, or for whatever reason you feel you are entitled to taking life in your own hands, and then you make a decision that this one does not deserve to live. I deserve to live. As if when you take away my life, you will end up with 2 lives. You still end up with 1 life. But the fact that you have resources, you have power to make a decision to reduce the quality of life of the other, even to exterminate that life. It simply means that a murderer in his mind thinks himself as God. Now that's treason of the highest order. Because when you kill another human being, you have killed a future. You have killed a wife. You have killed children, potential, capacity, inventions, and just the presence of the other person's life that we have removed from the face of the earth. How can we have a system that puts its knee on the neck of an African for 8 minutes, 46 seconds until the person stops breathing? They are not asking for your wife. They are not asking for your child. They are not asking for your house. They are asking for air. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. What they are asking for is not what you can give. They're just asking for air to breathe. What kind of air are we looking for? Economic air, political air, religious air, cultural air. health, air. I cannot breathe for me is huge, far much bigger than just the concept of I cannot breathe because I want air. The air we are breathing is polluted. Maybe the world must start shouting, we cannot breathe. It's not about Black Lives Matter. Life matters. Doesn't matter whose life it is, black or white, Indian or colored. Life matters. The business community needs to wake up in the morning. When you cut down trees, life matters. When you pollute the waters, life matters. When you pollute the air, life matters. Life matters. And that's not black lives only. That is life for the human continent, life for the birds, life for the fish of the sea, life for the ants, life for the crops, life for the human beings themselves. And whoever thinks that by having more money, you'll have enough, you'll never be satisfied. For the emptiness that is in your heart will never be filled by the account reflections in the banks that are across the world. You press another man until he cannot breathe. He dies in your hands because you are there to protect a system. Take note, when you do that, I love the Black Book, for it throws a nice little curveball. Cain does what he does, finishes what he finishes, and he walks away. Take note, please. And this is where me and cultural faith sometimes we shake hands. Because there's some things that African customs understand far much deeper than democratic system actually understand. To us who are educated, killing a human being is nothing. That's why we are selling guns. You can shoot. If someone threatens you, shoot them and kill them. But the Black Book says when you kill another human being, the Lord appears to Cain and says, where is your brother? So first things first, remember you are your brother's keeper. We need to start learning how to look after each other. Over and above the death of a man on a knee of a colonizer, I have a problem with the people who are taking the videos and watching a murder happening. Watching a murder happening. Why did George Floyd die alone? We should have heard that while he was shooting, another 10 brothers walked in there. The policeman did not only end up killing George Floyd. He killed George Floyd on his knee. He picked up his gun and he shot the other 4, 5, 6 African men who are approaching to assist a brother. Because we think that our lives are only for us. So it is far much easier for you to pick up your cell phone and take situation right now. When a brother is dying in the knee of another. But hear what the word says. The Black Book then says, Cain, where is your brother? To which he says, I am not my brother's keeper. Follow the concept very well. It says, your brother's blood. I like that part there. Your brother's blood has arrived. Come on, someone hold me there. Come on, hold me right there. I might just get excited. Your blood, the blood of your brother, has arrived before my throne. Did you hear that part there? I don't know how you talk about it in your Christian churches, but allow me just to go to town. That when you kill, when you spill blood, when it touches the soil, it reaches the skies. When it touches the ground, it reaches the Creator. When it reaches the dust, it reaches to the one who created the person. Therefore, blood speaks. Yellow. That's why sometimes when you see people who have killed people in their lives, they lose their minds. Because apparently when you are sleeping at night, the person that you killed will be busy staring at you and reminding you, why did you kill me? Because blood speaks way after it is done. I've also heard that in many African countries, why we never have peace is because there were wars that happened in those countries and innocent blood was spilled on the ground. The people who spilled innocent blood are now sitting in positions of power. Apparently in cultural theology they say the ground is angry. That's why the skies are locked up and catastrophes are plenty. That's why so man-made people are there and those economies are unmanageable because the land is full of blood. That cannot be accounted. Justice, therefore, corrects the land. I beg to make a declaration on the American government. I beg to make a declaration on the land of the colonizers. I cannot, for some strange reason, something holds me back. But when I look at Corona, I cannot help it but remind the colonizer that you must remember that the God that you came to introduce to Africa is a God of justice. 20 million people later are dead in the Atlantic Ocean. So when you think about God who is fair, what crosses your mind? When is he coming to give justice for what you have done so far? If the God you brought here is truthful, we need to start confronting this so that when you are going through problems, don't cry like you're innocent. Don't cry like you're innocent. When plagues and catastrophes strike your countries, don't scream and say, we don't know what is happening. If you don't know what is happening, ask Leopold. Ask Leopold, the Belgian king. Ask Ian Smith. Ask Futrecha. Ask David Livingstone. Ask Sissy John Rhodes. Ask your fellow colonial masters. Ask France. Ask Italy. When you were walking around the world, shooting people and killing people to collect their land and collect their resources. And you are the same people who were saying to the Africans that there is a God in heaven, a God who is full of love, a God who is full of justice. Where is the justice for the African people? When blood is spilled on the ground, the Bible says, it has arrived. Before my throne. And it is speaking. Did you hear that part? The blood is speaking. In the absence of the flesh, the blood is speaking. And the Lord says, I have heard the pain of Abel. When you think that you have accomplished your task, remember God is just about to get started. The death of George Floyd, I want to register that his blood has been spilled as innocent blood. And that blood will speak way after his death. Can I make a call for repatriation? Can I make a call for justice? Can I make a call for unity? Can I make a call for the great repatriation? Can I make a call? All those with blood in their hands, get scared. The God of justice is coming for you. Not you only, you and your children and your grandchildren and your grandchildren, from the first to the fourth generation of those that hate me, from the first to the seventh generation of those that love me. Make choices. As you make choices, remember, you're impacting generations to come. Blood speaks when it touches the ground. May the God of grace rest upon us and bless us constantly. African people, let's unite. It's just to be about mourning. And when morning breaks, we will wipe away our tears. We will sit underneath our trees one more time and worship in freedom. That's what the God of justice proclaims. To that glorious exodus, I invite you. Hold on a little bit longer. It won't be long. But very soon, this salvation will come to pass. Peace be upon the land. May the hearts of the bereaved be comforted. Peace be to my nation. The blessings of Yahweh rest upon you. Amen.